Welcome to the Kyrgyz Republic, a country in Central Asia known for its stunning natural beauty and rich cultural nomad heritage. In this video, we'll take you on a journey to explore some of the top tourist attractions and experiences that this hidden gem has to offer. The Kyrgyz people have a rich nomadic heritage that is still very much alive today. You can experience this lifestyle by staying in a yurt camp, where you'll be welcomed by the friendly locals and treated to traditional food, music, and games. First, let's take a look at the natural beauty of the Kyrgyz Republic. The country is home to some of the most stunning mountain ranges in the world, including the Tian Shan and Pamir mountains, which offer breathtaking views and opportunities for trekking, mountaineering, and skiing. There are 3 peaks over 7,000 meters high: Lenin, Hantengri, and Pobeda peaks, which attract tourists and climbers from all over the world. The famous Lake Issyk, the second largest mountain lake in the world, is another must-visit destination for its crystal-clear waters and stunning scenery. At Issyk, Olympic athletes are preparing for competitions, and astronauts come for rehabilitation after flights to the stars. But the Kyrgyz Republic is more than just mountains and lakes. The country is also known for its rich cultural heritage, shaped by centuries of nomadic life. One of the best ways to experience this culture is by visiting a yurt camp, where you can stay in traditional felt tents and learn about the customs and traditions of the Kyrgyz people. You can also witness the ancient art of eagle hunting, a traditional practice that dates back to the time of the Great Silk Road, when nomads live in harmony with the nature. That's nowadays known as sustainable development. You can also visit the petroglyphs at Saymalu Tash, which are over 3,000 years old and provide a fascinating glimpse into the region's past. UNESCO officially added 3 sites of the Kyrgyz Republic in its World Heritage List. One of them, the Sulayman Tau, sacred mountain in Osh City. There are too many interesting ancient fortresses and monuments of cultural and historical heritage on the Great Silk Road. The Burana Tower in Chuy Province. It's an 11th century minaret that was once part of the ancient Silk Road. The Tashrabat Caravanserai in Narin Province. The Uzgen minaret with a mausoleum in Uzgen town. Finally, Kyrgyz Republic is a country of hospitality, where visitors are welcomed with open arms and treated like family. The food is another highlight, with traditional dishes such as lagman, plov, and shashlik that reflect country's nomadic heritage. And the people are known for their warmth and generosity, always ready to share a cup of tea or a bowl of hummus. The Kyrgyz Republic is the most hospitable country in Central Asia. It established a visa-free regime for citizens of 61 countries. As you see here, the Kyrgyz Republic has a huge tourism potential. The Tourism Development Support Fund is an open joint stock company established by the government of the Kyrgyz Republic in March 2022. The Tourism Fund pursues 3 main objectives: increasing tourists' inflows to the Kyrgyz Republic via country marketing abroad, attracting FDIs into investment projects of tourism, creating the best conditions for all travelers, tourists, and tourism entrepreneurs. There is a working tourist hospitality center called Bosogo. Any tourist can find information what to see, where to go, how to move around the country, where to stay, and also provide services. There you can buy a SIM card, register, buy tickets, issue a bank card, rent a car. There is a 24 hours call center for tourists with the number 7000. There are information desks at international airports where our consultants will answer all your questions. There is available safe and comfortable Go bus transportation for the tourists. In mountainous areas, new ecological tourist trekking routes are being opened and eco-paths are being marketed according to the standards of the World Tourism Organization. A network of glamping sites is developing in the regions of the Kyrgyz Republic.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to Invest in Kyrgyzstan session. Now, I saw you, so some of you have already started booking your holidays in Kyrgyzstan. I hope some of you have already started considering investment in tourism. I would like to welcome everybody, and we have an overflow facility, so I hope also you, Mr. Baisalov, you are duly impressed by the interest in this session. I have here a distinguished group of panelists. They don't want to convince you to invest in Kyrgyzstan. They simply present the plain facts. Some of them have already invested. Some are taking risk, and they think it's high return. We have here with us today Deputy Chair of the Cabinet of Ministers, Edir Baisalov, our keynote speaker. We have here a seasoned investor in Kyrgyzstan and a long-term friend and partner of EBRD, who is Shevki Sarilar, CEO of the Demir Kyrgyz International Bank. We have here Cholpompek Jimashutkurov from Highland Capital. And we also have Chingiz Alkanov from Alkanov Group. They will highlight different aspects of how to do business with and in Kyrgyzstan. Let me tell you this. EBRD, since we started our operations, we have invested close to 900 million euros in this country, as you would expect us to do. We have been investing in the private sector, critical infrastructure, a lot, I hope Mr. Baisalov agrees with me, for green transition.
Yes.
And I would like to position EBRD also as an organization that facilitates foreign investment in Kyrgyzstan. You discussed with EBRD President Renaud Basso your plans, and you have also said both sides committed to give a further push to foreign investment. Deputy Chairman Baisalov, why don't you go to the lectern and present the case?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zhanna. Yes. Yes, well, thank you very much, Zhanna, for it's great to be here, and thank you, of course, EBRD and regional office, country office for setting this opportunity for us to present the current situation in Kyrgyzstan and our prospects, our hopes for the future. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming here and the investment session of the investment session of Kyrgyzstan, or our official name, Kyrgyz Republic. My name is Edir Baisalov. I'm the Deputy Chairman of the Cabinet of Ministers, and we have an excellent set of panelists, and I will hope to speak as little as possible so that more we can hear from private business, and then we can have a Q&A later. But nevertheless, still I would like to present, of course, our current picture in Kyrgyzstan is we are all used, and our top leadership, President, our Prime Minister, myself, and quite a few in the current leadership of Kyrgyzstan. We of course spent years, most of our lives in opposition, critical of the first 30 years, how our country was run. And we take extreme pride in the achievements over the last 2 years, when in 2 years we succeeded in doubling state revenue. And earlier today, with the EBRD president, I reminded her that this was done. This is good governance, walking the walk, not just a talk, but good governance, effective administration, stronger management, transparency, without introducing a single new tax, just by improving administration, the customs, in the tax, in the management of our national treasures. We increased from, it was 229, well, it's a bit, yes, this year we're having 500 billion soms over the total revenue, whereas in 21 it used to be twice as less. I can talk about the GDP, of course, in billion soms. We have the similar figures in, on the World Bank. National statistics, they all prove the point. Also in US dollars, we have seen significant increase in the economy. This year we are hitting 1 trillion soms of GDP, and per capita has been also growing. What I want to say is, of course, these new figures for all of you who been watching Kyrgyzstan and been used to the idea of Kyrgyzstan being the badly run, inefficient, poor or extreme poor. We are having a new team in charge that is ambitious, that is aiming high, and we are just getting started. The growth last year we recorded is 7% growth. This year, of course, we think that it will a bit slow down. We have the minimum of 4.5, but we hope to surprise both ourselves and the outside world. The population, of course, we having a very, just like our brothers here in Uzbekistan, neighboring Central Asian countries, we are in a very good demographic growth. Of course, it brings, last October we recorded 7 million child. I had the happiness of visiting parents and visiting them in their family, but 7 million young population. It is up to 2/3 of our population is under 32, 30, and it brings about, of course, some of the problems with the lack of schools, healthcare, of course, job pressure, but it is a set of good problems, as our leadership puts, because our future is bright, we are very confident. We have, and I've met with a few of our foreign interlocutors, and they've said, we would give, half of our wealth just to be, just to have young and healthy and educated population. Public debt, many of us discussed, many of our, analysts, international watchers have been warning about the impending foreign debt servicing problems that, it's going to peak in the next few years. But our president just a few hours ago gave an interview to Khabar National Press Agency, where once again he said that it's no problem. We are looking at debt to GDP ratio of less than 40%, and we are very confident in our future, and we're going to start actually taking more loans for our development. But again, I remember public discourse in our country servicing, $349 and $350 million just a few years ago. We were looking at austerity measures. We were looking at, it's absolutely, we don't even feel that thanks to the new resources that we have on hand. Thanks to that, last year in April, we had a boost in our public salaries. Some of our teachers, most of our teachers, they increased salaries by 80%, but the younger teachers, especially, 3 times, public service, state employees in culture, social, healthcare, we are investing in human capital. We want to attract the best to work in public sector. This is one of the uses that we having allocating our new resources. Increasing pensions. Again, it's the basis part of the pension. It's doubled. We having also, we have very young population, as I said. The social protection payments. I just before I tell you, of course, I need to stop here maybe for a few moments to reflect on our experience with Kumtor. The last year in 2021-22, we had significant attention from the international press, from a lot of you analysts, international bankers, where you've been discussing how our dispute with Kumtor would damage and diminish our international standing, confidence of the international markets. But of course, we concluded the talks, the dispute amicably. We did not go into long, expensive litigation. And at the moment, we have no dispute with international investors, but instead, of course, for example, our government relies on large revenue that's coming from Kumtor, and we have been stocking on gold. At the moment, of course, in Bishkek, we have around 47 tons of more than 47 tons of gold that we intend to use as leverage in our development. Well, there was this, just to go over a few large projects. We are, of course, looking forward in a day or two. Our president is going to China, just like President of Uzbekistan and other Central Asian countries. And the most important issue for us is, of course, starting the project of the century, the construction of China, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan railroad that will transform not only Kyrgyz economy, it will transform the whole region when we will have access to the world trade, to the ocean itself. China, for us, landlocked Central Asia is an ocean of economy, but also to the markets in Europe, and it will unlock a lot of geographical projects with iron ore, with rare earth metals, with coal, a lot of other things. So the railroad, China, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan. We are talking about, of course, large hydro project, Kambarata 1. We talk about all the connectivity issues and others. In energy sector, we are, our Minister of Energy is still focused, of course, on hydro projects. It's costly, it's multi-year. It requires a lot of patience, but again, just running ahead for the big news of a few days later, our president is going to sign agreements that will bring Chinese investment in solar energy, 1 gigawatt project in Isykyul, 500 megawatts of wind turbines, 600 megawatt of hydro project in Alabuga, Kazarman region, and we have just dozens of international companies, investors, from starting from French EDF, Spanish companies, European, and Chinese, Korean, and other Asian economies. Just dozens. It's a great boom in green economy, in the energy sector. We are confident that soon we will make up the deficit, the current deficit, and be able to take advantage of large regional projects like CASA 1000 to sell it to South Asia, to China, and trade in the Eurasian market. Some of the large projects. And then we are discussing quite a few privatization projects where, you know, of course, we have the goal of entering the world markets and being listed on IPO. We are talking about issuing Euro bonds and everything else. They are somewhat 2-3 years ahead, these projects, but I just want to conclude by once again reiterating that Kyrgyzstan is under new leadership. We're having a great momentum of growth, of hope, there is a good national upheaval, in a good sense, the rise, and we are, of course, here congratulating our neighbor, brotherly Uzbekistan, with great success in their own achievement in hosting such a large conference here. I remember first visiting EBRD annual meeting 20 years ago in Tashkent, and of course, looking back, you know, we are so happy that Uzbekistan is able to host conferences like this and be the engine of growth and of confidence in the future for the whole of Central Asia. Politically, of course, I just want to reiterate once again that the example, historic signing of border agreement with Uzbekistan. We are, all of us read dozens and dozens of books and hundreds of articles that said it's impossible that Central Asian countries can agree on border. But of course, this was done by our presidents, Sadir Japarov and President Mirziyoyev. In January this year, we are looking together as all 5 countries. We want to build a shared prosperity, future of shared prosperity. And so the theme of our conference today, of our session, is that we are learning now, 30 years after independence, that the most important neighbors is partners in economic growth, is our immediate neighbors, investment, technology, all kind of knowledge, experience, and consumers, of course, they all come from the neighboring regions, and therefore I'd like to say that there is a good momentum not only in Kyrgyzstan, but in the whole of Central Asia. So to all of you, I would like to welcome to Kyrgyzstan, to invest in Kyrgyzstan, to continue watching Kyrgyzstan, because there are many good things happening. In 2-3 years, you will not recognize how different it will be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Baisalov. So what is it that I'm taking with me? It's stability, improved and improving economic governance, your resolve to invest, harnessing also private sector, enabling infrastructure that is for energy security. It's for also accessing global markets, regional markets and global markets. And you've got young, educated workforce. Let me pass on now the baton to the private sector. Mr. Sarilar Shevki. We have worked together for a long time. You have been present as Demirbank in Kyrgyzstan for a long time. How are you reaping the results of the new stability, improved economic governance? You are interacting a lot with the private sector. By the way, I think I'm looking at my colleague Ayten, perhaps the most numerous private sector delegation we have from the Kyrgyz Republic. A lot of our clients are here in Tashkent, also testimony of the excellent relationship between Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. From a bank perspective, from a Turkish investor's perspective, I would like to ask you to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you. First of all, of course, 15 years ago, when I decided to live in Kyrgyzstan, I had the same questions as you had in your mind. Because Kyrgyzstan is a small country, it is developing. Maybe you heard the revolutions, which is coming very often. So I had big question mark. And when I discussed with my shareholder, I decided to work maybe 2-3 years, especially after working in different countries like Turkey, Holland, Russia, and Kazakhstan. Then I came to Kyrgyzstan. So, but I have been working already 15 years, and I am very happy to be there, first of all. I would like to thank you to my colleagues, especially Kyrgyz colleagues, because I don't feel myself as a foreigner in Kyrgyzstan. And when I started, Demirbank was one of the most successful banks, and we continue to grow. And currently we have 42 branches, and we are one of the biggest bank in the country, especially for the private bank. We are in the third, fourth position in terms of the asset size, in terms of the deposits. So, but we didn't stop just with the banking system. We saw the potential, and later on we continue to make some business for the IT segment, which is very new for the country, frankly speaking. In the past, we were getting this service from Turkey, but later on we decided to open our company and to make the developments for the banking system in Kyrgyzstan. And currently we are not only doing for Demirbank, but also for some other banks in Kyrgyzstan. So it was also good opportunity for us to show that young generation of Kyrgyzstan is capable, and they are ambitious to grow and to develop something. And of course, we continue, and we are thinking to make another investment now for the construction sector, which is our group company is planning to do it. And it will be around $40 million investment for Kyrgyzstan. So it will be one of the biggest projects in Bishkek, in my opinion. So why Kyrgyzstan? First of all, as other speakers informed, we have a young generation who are ready to develop themselves, to develop the country. So this is one of the big advantage. And they are well educated. They know several languages, English, Turkish. You cannot imagine, I am really surprised when I am traveling with my guests. Any restaurants, any hotel, English or Turkish speaker. So it was very good to see it also, that young generation is learning the different languages. Second issue, Kyrgyz nationality, I mean, Kyrgyz people are trustable and honest people. As a banker, my life is very easy, frankly speaking, especially having this revolution period in 2010 and later on. If you will check the statistics of the NPL ratio, non-performing loan ratio of the banking system, you can see that Kyrgyzstan is not the highest one in the region. In Kazakhstan or in neighbor countries, it reached to maybe 25–30%, but the maximum in Kyrgyzstan reached to 13%, 14% in 2010, and currently it is around 11%, if I am not wrong. So you can be sure that Kyrgyz people would like to make a repayment for their loans, which is also showing their honesty. I can tell one of my experience in 2010, when there was an ethnic war in the Osh region. Almost 90% of our loan portfolio in the region, we make a restructure. And 100% paid. So this is also showing how it is good to make a business in Kyrgyzstan. Another reason, the competition is very limited, except for the banking system. Unfortunately, in the banking system, we have a very tough competition, but which is bringing an opportunity for the businessman, frankly speaking. So almost all sectors, there is no competition. So any kind of business can be very successful and very profitable in Kyrgyzstan. Another reason, of course, the custom union. So maybe Kyrgyzstan is a small country, but on the other hand, any production can be sold to any countries in the custom unions, which is Belarus, Russia, Kazakhstan, Armenia, which means more than 150 million people. So it is a big opportunity also. And of course, after the war between Ukraine and Russia, it also brought some opportunity for the country. Now all countries, in my opinion, are checking the opportunities in different regions. And Kyrgyzstan has a big chance for it, especially the investors from the neighbor countries or the investor from European countries. There will be a big potential for them. So shortly I can tell.
Thank you very much. It seems Turkish investors, they found a home
Yes,
in Kyrgyzstan.
yes,
And it's such a home where they believe in and they want to grow.
yes.
You mentioned enhanced opportunities, including for the regional markets.
Another reason why we are feeling as a home, because also it is easy to communicate with the government. So if you have any request, if you have some problems, you can communicate,
There's a good
including the
dialogue.
prime minister, including the president. They never reject you. And always you have access to reach them and to tell your opinion, to argue with the laws. For example, recently they tried to implement one law for the tax, and all commercial organizations met, we discussed with the government, and they stepped back. So it is also a good opportunity.
And it's a very important factor
Yeah.
when you're making your investment decision that there is a receptive official
Absolutely.
counterpart who is listening to you, listening to arguments, and can accept arguments.
Yes.
So that's extremely important when deciding on investment. Shall we move on to perhaps higher risk, higher returns, and equity and Highland Capital? What is it that you could share with us in this respect? I'm turning to Mr. Jimashukurov from Highland Capital.
Well, obviously we are engaged in more higher risk investments. So first of all, good afternoon, dear forum participants. Thank you, EBRD team, for organizing such a great event. Thank you, Uzbekistan side, for hosting the event. Today would like to share our experience investing in SME and small business sector in Kyrgyzstan. My partner and I, my partner Eldan Usubakunov and I launched private equity mezzanine fund in Kyrgyzstan in 2018. This fund is fortunate to have investors in the fund, IFC and EBRD as investors in the fund. Well, starting the fund was not easy. It took us 2.5 years to fundraise because we were trying to pitch and explain foreign investors that Kyrgyzstan is a good country. You can invest and you can return your capital. Eldan and I, we traveled across the world pitching Kyrgyzstan as a good investment location. We are grateful to IFC and EBRD who invested in the fund because they took the risk as for both of them it was their first fund investment in the Kyrgyz Republic. They took the risks, and our team feels big responsibility in making sure that the investments, and we also have private investors, that their investments do well. So since then, for the last 5 years, we have invested in 12 companies, and I can share some of the lessons learned from those investments. So first of all, I think Kyrgyzstan is a great location to invest because Kyrgyzstan has energetic entrepreneurs, especially young ones who are very ambitious and who are open for new kinds of doing business, who would like to transform their businesses. And this is the type of profile we like. And as an example of, in 2019, we financed a private school in Osh called Kupuyev Academy. There was a lady, Aselia Kupuyeva, who spent a lot of time abroad, studied abroad, worked abroad, and she came back to Kyrgyzstan, to Osh, as her passion to start education, to help kids. And they needed $800,000 to finish their school. We provided that, and the school was able to open their doors to kids. And now the school is one of the most successful schools in Osh. They're expanding their operations, adding campuses. I mean, seeing those types of entrepreneurs, we really like that, and Kyrgyzstan has a lot of them. The second big advantage of Kyrgyzstan, I feel, is its location. Kyrgyzstan connects China to other countries. And in our portfolio, we also lucky to have, for example, an investment in a logistics company. We finance the expansion of trucks. So with our financing, they were able to expand their truck fleet and strengthen the operations between Kyrgyzstan and Turkey. And that really benefits from Kyrgyzstan being as a transit location. And finally, I think Kyrgyzstan provides a good legal infrastructure. As our esteemed Deputy Prime Minister mentioned, the Kyrgyzstan provides a good system. So, for example, we have very easy flow of capital, almost no capital controls, floating exchange rate, one of the first countries to start visa-free regime in the region, and also very transparent tax regime, which provides also certainty and stability. Obviously, Kyrgyzstan still remains emerging markets, frontier market, and there are still risks. So you have to know what you're doing as you invest. You need to have good partners in Kyrgyzstan. But we are fortunate that our portfolio of those 12 investments are doing well. We are proud that we are returning capital to our investors, to both IFC and EBRD, and we already returned half of the capital to them. We are generating high IRRs income, both in soms and dollars for them. And based on that track record, we are now, with our partners in Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan, starting working on the second fund, expanding it. It will be more regional fund. It will include Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. And hopefully we can expand our operations and bring our also, not capital, also our knowledge to local entrepreneurs. I mean, that would be, I think, some of the kind of benefits I would share. Overall, obviously not easy to invest, but I think if you're doing what you know and you have good local partners, there are a lot of benefits. And I will also agree with Shefki in terms of there is less competition in a lot of sectors. And less competition means ability to earn attractive returns. And with that, I think I will stop. Otherwise, I'll continue marketing Kyrgyzstan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Two things from me, if I may add. I think that you were too modest, because I know that when you're talking to EBRD Equity Funds team, we look at the potential investments and the pipeline, but what is the first question they ask? What is your track record? Yeah. So it is the management team of your equity fund that has made it a success. We are only humble investors.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you have an excellent management team with an excellent track record. And the second thing is, I spotted that this slide has a confidential label on it. So please spread the news, because what we are talking about is, sorry to talk about it, Deputy Prime Minister, it's about high IRRs. So with the right management team, with the opportunities as you have outlined, now hopefully with a regional equity fund, again, investors can target the desired high internal rate of returns in an ever-increasingly enabling environment. So my respects to you and to your management team. One of the recurring themes at this panel has been region, outreach, market. So when we are looking at Kyrgyzstan, you also pointed out that we are looking at regional market in Central Asia and beyond. Now, the Alkanov Group has wide trade relationships. I mean, my notes tell me that it ranges only from Korea to the Netherlands, of course, through all the countries of Central Asia, Turkey. I would be grateful if you could present us a bit your company and how this trading relationship, whether in supply materials, whether in terms of sales, has materialized for you in your group.
Okay.
Over to you.
Спасибо большое. Раз. Я буду выступать на русском, вот, чтобы то, что мистер Шефки сказал, что все знают английский, чтобы не опровергнуть эту теорию. Разрешите представиться. Меня зовут Чингис, я являюсь владельцем Alkanov Group. В нашу группу компаний входят такие объекты, как Алкан-базары. Это один из крупнейших вещевых рынков в Центральной Азии. Он является частью Дордой базары. На нем в основном реализуются все товары, которые произведены в Кыргызской Республике, так называемый самопошив. Как вот вы уже говорили, действительно, ткани для данной продукции приезжают со всех стран мира. Это действительно и Европа, и Узбекистан, и Турция, и даже Корея. Это один из таких больших локомотивов в стране. Могу также сказать, что в Волканов Групп входит один из крупных крупных таможенных терминалов, называется «Бизнес-транссервис». Это, кстати, один из первых проектов, которые я сделал совместно с Европейским банком. Вот. Он специализируется на товарах, которые приезжают из Европы и Турции. Также в группу компаний входит всевозможная недвижимость, также и бизнес-центр, и торговый центр. И внутри торгового центра также есть крупнейший строительный магазин, который реализует именно товары для строительства. Могу вот с уверенностью сказать, что даже вот по нашему магазину, в котором примерно 30 тысяч SKU, все больше и больше товаров приходит из стран Центральной Азии. Это и Казахстан, и Узбекистан. Проходят переговоры и с Туркменистаном. Вот. И все это говорит о том, что, я думаю, вот со временем, как уже правильно было сказано, Центральноазиатский регион должен соединяться вот, в торговых отношениях, потому что очень много таких хороших секторов, которые действительно не заняты в Кыргызстане. Как говорили предыдущие спикеры, у нас на самом деле есть конкуренция, но с точки зрения таких крупных и больших денег она действительно отсутствует. В принципе, ага, окей.
Будет легче.
Ну, вот, собственно, да. И я тоже хотел бы призвать инвестировать и вкладывать в Кыргызстан. Вот, не только потому, что у нас маленькая конкуренция, да, но и потому, что у нас очень хорошие реформы сейчас проходят в стране с точки зрения инвестиций. Например, могу сказать, что есть указ президента о национальных проектах, и если крупный бизнес действительно хочет открыть очень такой масштабный проект в Кыргызстане, он может получить очень хорошие преференции. В части налогов он может быть освобожден при ввозе таких, знаете, крупных каких-то установок или технологий. Вы можете быть освобождены от уплаты всевозможных таможенных пошлин, налогов. Плюс могут предоставить земельный участок, могут дать послабление в налоговом режиме уже во время того, как вы начнете работать. Всего этого как бы раньше не было, сейчас это действительно активно внедряется. Есть также для инвестиций агентство, которое активно работает и как бы сопровождает многих инвесторов. Помимо всего этого, как бы хочу сказать, что вот 3 проекта из тех, что я озвучил, я создал на деньги от Европейского банка Реконструкции и развития. Вот, и могу сказать, что действительно те инвестиции, которые мы получаем, они очень эффективны, но самое главное, хотел бы поблагодарить за консультантов, вот, действительно помогают как бы тем идеям, которые у нас есть, стать более современными, более такие конкурентными. Но у нас в стране, как вот уже показывал наш уважаемый вице-президент, что у нас есть и другие фонды, которые тоже активно финансируют. Раз уж мы в Узбекистане, хотел бы сказать, что у нас недавно открылся Кыргызско-Узбекский фонд, вот, который также хорошо финансирует проекты, и причем совместно с ЕБРР. Вот, все это помогает также продвигать товары, которые произведены в Узбекистане, в Кыргызстане тоже. То есть могу сказать, что такая интеграция идет такими большими семимильными шагами. Вот. Всех призываю вкладывать в Кыргызстан. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to see you again, because we met back in Kyrgyzstan, and to see the figures about your company's growth and how you are investing. May I raise one issue which I don't think that my colleagues have raised with you, if you have a view on this. My colleague Ayten is leading a very dynamic team in Bishkek, and whenever I'm in Kyrgyzstan, I hear only good things about the IT sector. We have talked about logistics. We have talked about energy security, investment in renewable energy, manufacturing, services. Any views from the panel? You mentioned already, Shefki, the IT sector, telecommunications. I know from ITAN and from many of my Kyrgyz friends that IT platforms are being built, IT park is being built. Can I have a tour d'horizon from those? What are your views? I have met myself quite a few of software developers in Bishkek, probably also in other cities. Sorry if I confine myself to Bishkek. Mr. Baisalov, what is your take in on this dynamic sector and supporting it? I understand there are specific government programs that are also targeting this sector.
Well, indeed, IT sector is of course important, and you know sometimes of course.
Excuse me, do we have the microphone working, please?
Yes.
For Mr. Baisalov?
Is it working? Yes,
yes,
it is. Well, I agree with you. Of course, IT sector is important. We, as all countries in the world, we talk a lot about IT importance of educating, of providing these jobs. We have the dream of working in Kyrgyzstan and what they say, working in Kyrgyzstan and
the global
earn from the world or something
yes.
like that. And of course, we were around more than 10 years ago, the first IT park with a special tax regime, because we had already thousands and thousands of local software developers who were outsourcing their services abroad, but we wanted to capture it and wanted to legalize their work, so this IT park. Last year, one of the few, I think we can take the pride, creative industries park. Again, special tax regime. I personally argued against it, but it's they promise 0.5% of revenue. 0.5%. It's you cannot find such an offshore anywhere in the world. It will peak at 2% by 2026 and continue at 2%. So this idea of attracting, also growing our local base, but also attracting international talent. We have a special program on digital nomads, and of course, we know that IT is important in terms of creating a lot of high-paid jobs. Last month, of course, we are watching with horror at the artificial intelligence and the threats that they will eradicate all the lower sector IT jobs. But I can tell you about the programs in education and everywhere else. But IT is very important. But one thing I just want to follow up what Mr. Jumashukurov said about this Kyrgyzstan being very attractively placed on the map of the world. I recall that, in 2007, in December, one Swedish company, a consulting company, I keep forgetting its name, they had a slow news day in Christmas, and so they were logistics consulting company, so they calculated where would Santa Claus, to serve all children of the world, where on the globe would be the best place to position, the warehouse, logistics hub. And they looked around the world and they placed it and they pointed, of course, geographic location with coordinates, and it was in Kyrgyzstan. Because you have huge Chinese population, India, Southeast Asia, Africa, Middle East, and then, of course, receding populations of Europe and Americas. But this was in Kyrgyzstan. Recently, this February, I was in Finland, and I visited the Chamber of Commerce, and I passed a long message to Santa Claus. I said, you don't need to move from Laplandia, but of course, you need to base, to start your logistics to have your hub in Kyrgyzstan, because it's true. Now we discussed connectivity. I think we will have a separate session on that. Kyrgyzstan, with the new roads being built, I talked about one railroad. Uzbekistan is building railroad, Afghanistan, Pakistan. We're having all this China-Pakistan economic corridor. We have all the roads, over Trans-Caspian and to the Arabian Sea. With that population, we will definitely see that manufacturing bases will move over from very expensive and very rich China. It will definitely move over our way, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and our neighbors. We have the populations that can service all this manufacturing. So not only IT, but also real manufacturing jobs. We are waiting for the world to know, and also Santa Claus to know. In Kyrgyzstan, we have the
I don't know whether
yes.
he is in the audience, but
Yes.
again, we talked about logistics, we talked about IT. How can you support, as DKIB, the growing trade within Central Asia, outside Central Asia? How do you see the trade patterns when you're looking at your clients that are growing? Again, we are talking about supply chains. How do you feel about financing such supply chains for your clients and with the products that you are constantly developing at your bank?
So, of course, there is a demand and there is a growth for the trade, not on neighbor countries, but also other countries, because now Kyrgyzstan especially is very becoming more popular for the natural products, including fruits, vegetables, and even dress, because they have a special organic productions. So that's why the countries, other countries are now learning and seeing Kyrgyzstan potential. So this is also reflecting our volumes, our customers' volumes. But of course, it is more important to have also big productions in Kyrgyzstan. So for this one, also government is making some programs. But especially as a bank, we are more focused on not corporate companies, but also for the SME, small, medium entrepreneurs, who can make more development for Kyrgyzstan. And thanks to EBRD, frankly speaking, you are also supporting, EBRD is supporting to us a lot. I think we are one of the most active banks who are working with EBRD under Kyrgyz program, energy efficiency. We have more than $20 million we provided to the country. And plus, we have also special SME program with EBRD and the RSF, also risk share participation we are doing. So there is a big potential for financing for small, medium entrepreneurs. And for the funding side also, we don't have too much difficulties, especially thanks to also the government and the national bank. Our exchange rate is more stable in the regions, in my opinion, so which is also giving an opportunity for us to see the future. So this is also a good opportunity.
So invest in Kyrgyzstan, then you are investing in a much, much wider region. Thanks to what these gentlemen are doing, already trading, investing across the borders. It's your time to ask questions. I know I have not equipped myself, and I have to apologize for that, with the gadgets, but anybody, I don't know, Azamat, whether you can check questions or simply questions from the audience. I know that our panelists are ready to face the challenge, whether during the remaining part of this session or also in the corridors, because this is just the first day of the EBRD annual meeting and business forum here. I know that it's a very well-lit audience.
I just, before...
Mr. Bison, yes, while people are thinking.
Well, of course, I'd like to also, when I-10 said, there will be 4 men on the panel, I said, how come? And of course, we are very proud in terms of our gender equality, and we all know that our leading entrepreneurs, especially among the EBRD clientele and leadership of our small and medium enterprises is women, and women of Kyrgyzstan are very important. During recent years, it has been decline in public leadership. So our president has instructed our government to establish special leadership track program so that we recruit, we identify, we train, we develop young women so that they will be able to take up position in public sector. So women is also a good reason, women of Kyrgyzstan, a good reason to invest in. And they actually provide the discipline, the fiscal discipline that, men are not so honest, but women
please.
very reliable.
So I agree for this comment. Especially for our bank, 65% we have female colleagues. And in the top management, we have 50% female, 50% male. So it is also difficult to see this kind of ratio in other organizations.
Well, we have women leadership also in Central Asia, in Kyrgyzstan in particular, and we are delivering results. I think there was a question there.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Beybi Tapsimbetov. I'm entrepreneur from Kazakhstan, invest in Kyrgyzstan. So I just want to make some comment. We, a few years ago, together with EBRD, a few other banks and Mr. Shivki, we launched a project for developing A-class logistics warehouses. And what I want to mention that we started it at pre-pandemic year, and we just launched in the pandemic year, and it was quite a great challenge to us. And I would like to stress that despite this problem, we are now successfully doing the third phase of the project. And compared to Kazakhstan, I would like to stress that obtaining the permission for the development, it's quite easy in Kyrgyzstan. And thank you for supporting investors. And I know that the tax regime is quite liberal there. So, and my question is there any changes expecting in the tax regime for investors or not? If you keep it now like this, it's a good thing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rahmet. Let's see.
Yes.
What is it that you can disclose?
Our entrepreneurs, they attested themselves, of course, as any government, we want to have more revenue. We need to be building roads, schools, providing infrastructure. But our private sector, also international investors, they were a bit worried with our drive of our government. But just 2 weeks ago, the new tax code was adopted by our parliament, signed by our president, and it has it keeps the liberal regime, of course, 10% profit. It's the no limit on capital movement and all various ways. But it also provided our government with important freedoms to, if we have potential strategic investors that we need to buy with special tax conditions or providing some capital. We also want to be able to provide capital to support in their fundraising, if necessary, provide some, if necessary, state guarantees. So tax regime, we know that we are competing against other very dynamic, very stable countries in our neighborhood. So we need to be just a bit better. For example, the success of such large trading hubs as Alkan Bazarı is, of course, that transcontinental trade, for example, from China, from few other countries, they choose to go through Kyrgyzstan, despite all the talk, despite all the multi-billion investment. For example, our friends in Kazakhstan are trying to replicate the success. They still free trade comes to Kyrgyzstan because they know that there they have better opportunities. And also, of course, we need to mention and we need to salute our garment industry. Of course, it's employing hundreds of thousands of men and women. We are aiming in the next few, not years, but few months, to be able to help our national business and international business to make sure that it is no more sweatshops, that we want to, of course, build large garments factories so that attract international retail brands and to build there. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that we are... One question. We are running out of time, and I would like to end it in suspense so that you have many questions to come to my glorious panelists with. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Baisalov. I have a small question about what is the plan? What are the plans of the government regarding development of your gateway to Kyrgyzstan? I mean, Bishkek Airport. What are the plans for development this infrastructure object?
Yes, of course. Airport is very important. We, of course, need to establish this direct lines. Tourism is another big story going on in Kyrgyzstan. Actually, we at the moment, a lot of us are actually saying that we need to keep the Kyrgyzstan as a premium destination. That somehow maybe we will turn into Brunei or what's the country that charges people, maybe visa-free, but introduce, charge people to enter Kyrgyzstan. But we are not yet there. But so gateway, of course, Manas, we are looking for dynamic international management to come in, investors, because we're developing regional airports as well. Karakol, Osh, Naryn, Talas, Batken, and also Isfana. And we are actually very open. We already had some talks with one Turkish company that wanted to come in. We are talking now to some Emirati companies. But yes, we want to repeat what we see as a very successful example of our neighbors. Giving, we know that government can do only as much. We need to give it under management of international companies.
And we'll be with you as EBRD. I hasten to add, I have to use this podium.
Absolutely. We have one of the most best liberal, public-private partnership. And all this, we are open to many projects, dozens and dozens of build to operate and transfer kind of projects. So it's quite a lot of it is under radar. Quite a lot of it, our leadership is resisting what we used to do in the before, talking too much and claiming, boasting about success without doing anything. So our leadership says that we do it, and then we will do. But of course, the smart investor will see it first and come before everybody else learns about how successful we are.
And as I promised in my introduction, EBRD would be able to help you also working with our partners, private and public sector partners, including through the public-private partnerships. Thank you ever so much.
We need to give, Chris, you want to ask a question? Yes, because we have some international journalists, and they will say that they were not able to...
Media freedom.
Yes,
media freedom.
freedom.
If they cannot trumpet the success of Kyrgyzstan, then we are in vain. Yeah.
Yes. They're limiting your freedom of speech.
That's it.
Not
That's
us.
it.
Hello.
Yes.
So, thank you very much, Mr. Baisalov. A question about Kumtor, because you showed us figures for growth in budget revenues. We assume that the takeover of Kumtor is a big part of that. What plans are there for the post-Kumtor economy? And a second question, if I may. You talked about the project of the century, the China, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan railway, and also how that would, if I understood you correctly, open up opportunities for iron ore development and coal mining.
Yes,
is the Zhetimto iron deposit part of that project? If not, how is Kyrgyzstan expected to contribute finances towards the project? What is the rough financial structure of that project going forward? Thank you very much.
I would like to know that as well.
Yes, absolutely. The Kumtor is, of course, important now, is absolutely 100% national owned. Again, many of our friends were concerned if we will be able to operate. A lot of our local civil society, opposition, journalists were worried that we are going to somehow distract the, of course, state-of-the-art management that is still there. So it is operating again without any incident, continuing to produce gold. But as you know, there is some cycles in mining, so it was long before known that there will be some decline in gold production. Gold is stored. We believe that in the appreciating gold, so we're not selling it, but we will be able. We are looking for opportunities to leverage it. As for the China Railroad, the negotiations are ongoing. It is definitely 100% are going to build. Of course, we have Chinese friends who have absolutely unlimited resources, but we need to be, the company is already established, headquartered in Bishkek. It will be a transnational company. It is most definitely, we continue reading this international press that is skeptical, that is a bit, they have some anti-Chinese bias and etc. But the railroad is starting. We already have first 146 kilometers from the Chinese border to the point of where it will change gauges in Kazarman. It's already financed, it's already funded, it's already going to be started this year. As for the iron ore project, other natural resources, we have, you recall the public discussion back in 2006-07 when it was discussed as if the Chinese demanding somehow ownership or management access to those natural resources. Is absolutely not true today. It is our own interest. For example, this iron ore deposit of Zhetimto, it is, of course, significance of that iron ore is the same as any large Soviet deposit, be it Magnitogorsk or be it Karaganda, but it wasn't able, we were not able to access it because in Soviet Union, first of all, they had enough of it in Ukraine, Russia, Kazakhstan, elsewhere. There was no railroad, but already in Soviet Union, there was a plan to build in the 13th five-year plan, 1990-1995, they were considering extending the railroad to Zhetimto. Zhetimto is, of course, huge deposit of iron ore. People will stop relying on oil and gas, maybe not gas, but okay, oil, but never will demand for iron ore will grow. So yes, Kyrgyz government is going to develop that iron ore project and some other rare earths, coal and others, 100% owned by Kyrgyzstan people. Yes, thank you. Attracting, of course, international technologies and financing.
Thank you very much. I'm very sorry, but we have limited time, and it's not about media freedom, it's about setting up this meeting room also for other discussions. I know that, Mr. Baisalab, you have always been open that's why you also called upon Chris to pose the second question. Thank you ever so much for attending this session. And I know that our friends who participated in this panel, whom I would like to thank very much for their contribution. They will be available for you. Use the EBRD annual meeting app, and I know that there will be opportunity for you to approach them and discuss, pose questions, and discuss any issues related to investing in Kyrgyzstan. Thank you so much.